Yeah, am I live? Yeah, I should be. So today what I want to do is to just go through some basic interview questions for Python. I have some things lined up. I'll just bring it out. No, I'm just searching for some Python contents that I have saved. Uh, well, one thing I know is that yes. So here are the things that I wanna uh, go over: core language features, decorators, async programming, and testing frameworks. Also, I would love to. Core language features. Yeah, let's just go core Python. Oh no, Python interview questions. Yeah. Is Python a compiled language or an interpreted language? Please remember one thing: whether a language is compiled or interpreted, or both, is not defined in the language standard. In other words, it is not a property Oh, that's cool. I'm drinking a Fanta and I go to add for Fanta. Different Python distributions choose to do different things, compile or interpret or both. However, the most common implementation like CPython do both compile and interpret, but in different stages of its execution process. Compilation. When you write a Python code and run it, the source code py file is first compiled into an intermediate form called bytecode, and this bytecode is a lower level representation of your code, but it still is not directly a machine code. It is something that Python Virtual Machine, PVM, can understand and execute. Interpretation. After a Python code is compiled into a bytecode, it is executed by a PVM, which is an interpreter. The PVM reads the bytecode and executes it line by line at runtime, which is why Python is considered an interpreted language in practice. Some interpretations, like PyPy, or use just-in-time compilation, where Python code is compiled into machine code at runtime for faster execution, blurring the lines between interpretation and compilation. PyPy. CPython. Python. CPython do both compile and interpret. So we have a programming language, but whether the language is compiled or interpreted is not defined by the language standard. It is a language implementation like CPython, which is the most often used, that gets compiled and then interpreted. But other interpretations like PyPy, that's a cool name, use just-in-time compilation, which is Python code is directly compiled into direct machine code at runtime. How can you concatenate two lists in Python? Yeah, that's easy. Plus operator using the extend method. This adds all elements of the second list to the first list in place. Difference between for loop and while loop in Python. For loop is used when we know how many times to repeat. When we only have an end condition and don't know exactly how many times it will repeat. How do you floor a number in Python? Method in Python returns a floor method. Math floor. Also a method ceil x in Python. Okay. So indentation is required in Python, that a group of statements belongs to a specific block of code by Python indentation. Indentations make the code easy to read for developers in all programming language, but in Python, it is very important to indent the code in a specific order. Can we pass function as an argument in Python? Yes, several arguments can be passed to a function, including objects, variables, and functions. Functions can be passed as parameters to other functions because they are objects. Higher order functions are functions that can take other functions as arguments. And this is the very simple example of that. Apply function takes in some function and returns the result of this function for a and b. Then in the main block of code, we apply add function to this function on 3 and 5. What is a dynamically typed language? In a dynamically typed language, the data type of a variable is determined at runtime, not at compile time. At runtime, dynamically typed, not at compile time. Okay, so Python code gets compiled, and then interpreted. All right. and then ran. So it is determined, so the type of a variable is determined when it runs, not when it compiles. No need to declare data types manually. Python automatically detects it based on the assignment value. Examples of dynamically typed languages are Python and JavaScript. Examples of statically typed languages are C, C++, and Java. Dynamically typed languages are easier and faster to code, obviously. Statically typed languages are usually faster to execute due to type checking at compile time. Okay, so x is an integer because 10 is an integer, and this is a hello string, so x is also, now x is a string. I have one like simple question though. Now x is a string. Can you change a variable type like this? Like, would this code run? Let me take out my Vim. No, 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 no. K is up. Oh, I hate this. Oh, damn. I suck at VI. Should. 10 and hello. So yes, you can basically change a type of a variable. The pass statement is a placeholder that does nothing. Really? It is used when statement is syntactically required but no code needs to run. Commonly used when defining empty functions or classes or loops during development. Placeholder, no functionality. Yes, so you declare a function, but you don't want to implement it today, so you just use pass and then go on. How are arguments passed by value or passed by reference? Argument passing model is neither passed by value nor passed by reference, but it is passed by object reference. This is amazing. Depending on the type of object you pass in function, the function behaves differently. Immutable objects show pass by value, whereas mutable objects show pass by a reference, which makes a lot of sense. You can check the difference between pass by value and pass by reference in the example below. Here, we pass x, we multiply it by 2 and return. Here, you call by reference d, b.append, d, and return. So does the code know? No. None. So a list is mutable, right? It has to be. But integer is probably not. Updated num, because called by val num is not gonna change. Called by ref, updated num 12 and ed. So the both of them work in this case, or what's going on? ed, ed and 12. So both of them worked. This is really weird. What is a lambda function? Now let's just read more about Python's argument passing. Pass by reference. Yeah, let's just read this. In many programming languages like C, understanding how arguments are passed to the functions, whether by value or reference, is important. Python, however, follows a unique mechanism that often causes a confusion. It does not strictly follow either pass by value or pass by reference. Instead, Python uses a pass by object reference model, sometimes called by sharing. What is pass by reference in Python? In pass by reference, the function receives the memory address of the original objects, not a copy. This means both the caller and the function share the same object with mutable types like lists, dict, and sets. Any changes made inside the function will reflect outside as well. No change. Same reference, no modification, same list, my list, print my list. Okay. Both list inside the function and my list outside point to the same list in memory. Since the function didn't modify anything, the list remains unchanged. Both list inside the function and my list outside the point in memory function didn't modify anything. List just remains unchanged. Reassignment. List A, X, and print my list. Explanation. Function rebinds list to a new list object. This does not affect my list. List now refers to a new object inside the function, and my list still refers to the original object, which remains unchanged in place modification. I really don't, I super don't like this website, this article, because pass by reference, pass by value. So if it's a mutable thing, it's gonna be passed by reference. What is passed? Reference to object. Reference to object. Can modify in function. Yes. Affects original. No. Can affect original. Yes. No. Obviously. Like ls. Is Python called by reference or called by value? So it depends. It depends on what? It depends on what? So it depends if our object is mutable or not, and if we modify it in place. Reference to object, yes, can modify function. Copying. Affects original, yes, no, what past object reference to object. A new object is created inside of that thing. Okay. However, pass by reference and pass by object reference. Is it this? Reference to object. Depending on the type of object you pass, the function behaves differently. Mutable object show pass by value, and mutable object show pass by reference. To what is a lambda function? A lambda function is an anonymous function. This function can have any number of parameters, but it can have just one statement. Lambda func upper s2. In the example, we define the lambda function upper to convert a string to its uppercase. Func.upper. What is list comprehension? List comprehension is a way to create lists using concise syntax. It allows us to generate a new list by applying an expression to each item in an existing iterable. Yeah, I want to talk about those stuff, iterables. By each time best by ourselves, right? Cleaner. Args is a special syntax. Args in function definitions is used to pass a variable number of arguments to a function. Python program to illustrate args for a variable. So argv for arg in argv. Args special syntax. So this is just a variable number of things. What is a break, continue, and pass? Continue is also a loop control statement. Break, terminate the loop. Between a set and a dictionary, a Python set is an unordered collection data type. Unordered collection data type that is iterable, mutable, and has no duplicate elements. Python set class represents the mathematical notion of a set defined using curly braces or the set function. Dictionary in Python is ordered since Py 37 unordered collection of data values used to store data values like a map, which, unlike other data types that hold in a single value as a dictionary holds key value pair. Key value is provided in the dictionary to make it more optimized. Python set defined using curly braces or the set function. Python set class represents the mathematical notion of a set. It's an iterable, mutable, and it's unordered. Has no duplicate elements. What are built-in data types? What are built-in data types in Python? String, list, tuple, range. Mapping types in Python, hashable data. The numeric data type in Python represents a data that has a numeric value. A numeric value can be an integer, floating number, sequence number. The sequence data type in Python is ordered collection of similar or different data types. There are several sequence types like strings, lists, tuples, and ranges. Mapping values in Python. Hashable data can be mapped to random objects using a mapping object. There is currently only one common mapping type. The dictionary and mapping objects are immutable. Mapping the dictionary and mapping objects are mutable. Mapping types in Python. Hashable data. Hashable, but this is the thing, hashable data can be mapped to random objects using a mapping object. Set is an unordered collection, mutable, and has no duplicate elements. They can only unique elements, so no duplicates. The order of elements in a set is undefined, though it may consist of various elements. So in a set, I have another question. vi.itachi.py. So we have my set equals to 1, 2. God damn it. Now it works. 1, 2. Fuck. x. So is this gonna work? So basically, can you have a set of different types of variables? Python 3. Oh, you can have. What is a variable scope in Python? What is the difference between a mutable data type and an immutable data type? What is a dictionary different? How is a dictionary different from a list? List is an ordered collection of items accessed by their index, while a dictionary is an unordered collection of key-value pairs accessed using unique keys. Lists are ideal for sequential data, whereas dictionaries are better for associative data. For example, a list can store 10, 20, or 30, whereas a dictionary can store A10, P20, What is docstrings in Python? Is a documentation strings provide a convenient way of associating documentations with Python modules, functions, classes, and methods. Associate documentation with Python modules, functions declaring docstrings are declared triple accessing docstrings, try, accept, finally. How is exceptional handling done in Python? Can't be divided by 0. What is the difference between Python arrays and lists? Arrays, when talking about the array module in Python, are specifically used to store a collection of numeric elements that are all of the same type. This makes them more efficient for storing large amounts of data. From array import array. What's that I thing? Here. Lists are more flexible than arrays. They can hold elements of different types. They come built in with Python and do not require importing any additional What are modules and packages in Python? A module is a single file that contains Python code, functions, variables, classes, which can be reused in other programs. You can think of it as a code library. For example, math is a built-in module that provides math functions like square, pi, and etc. Package is a collection of related modules stored in a directory. So module is a file and package is a directory. It helps in organizing and grouping modules together for easier management. For example, a NumPy package contains multiple modules for numerical operations. To create a package, the directory must contain a init.py, intermediate, xrange, and range functions. Okay, I'm done with this website. Although I'm gonna how to delete a file in Python. OS remove. Peep. Yeah, man, like I want a comprehensive Python reader, not a book, but a reader, like a small book that will just very laconically explain everything to me. Core language features. I think we talked about core language features now. So Python decorators are next. Decorators in Python. Oh, it was updated 4 days ago, which is good. Some Indian guy talking about it. In Python, decorators are a powerful and flexible way to modify and extend the behavior of functions or methods without changing their actual code. Decorator is essentially a function that takes another function as an argument and returns a new function with enhanced functionality. Wow. Just a function that takes another function as an argument and returns a new function with enhanced functionality. Decorators are often used in scenarios such as logging, authentication, and memorization, allowing us to add additional functionality to existing functions or methods in a clean, reusable way. Decorator takes a function, def wrapper. Before calling the function, we call the function, we print after, like what we do after calling the function, and then we return the wrapper. Oh, this is just a design pattern of like modifying, kind of like modifying a function. So if we want to, yeah, applying the decorator to a function, decorator, you do at symbol, decorator, and greet, and you just print hello world. So when you now greet, this is gonna happen basically. This wrapped function will get called, and you'll get the output will be before calling the function dot hello world, after calling the function dot, just like this. Explanation: decorator takes the greet function as an argument. It returns a new function, wrapper, that first prints a message, calls greet, and then prints another message. It returns a new function, prints a message, calls greet, and then prints another message. The decorator syntax is a shorthand for greet, decorator, greet. Syntax of decorator parameters. Not parameters, decorator name. This is the name of the decorator function. Func, the parameter represents the function being decorated. When you use a decorator, the decorated function is passed to this parameter wrappers, args, and kb args. This collects any keyword arguments passed to the decorator function into a dictionary. The wrapper function allows the decorator to handle functions with any number of types. The arguments: decorator name, role in the decorators. Decorators in Python are a type of higher order function because they take a function as input, modify it, and return a new function that extends or changes its behavior. Understanding higher order functions is essential for working with decorators, since decorators are essentially functions as first-class objects. In Python, functions are first-class objects, meaning that they can be treated like any other object, such as integer, strings, or lists. This gives functions a unique level of flexibility and allows them to be passed around and manipulated in ways that are not possible in many other programming languages. What does it mean for a function to be a first-class object? It can be assigned to a variable. Functions can be assigned to variables and used just like any other value. It can be passed as arguments. Functions can be passed as arguments, can be returned from other functions. Role of first class. Types of decorators: we have function decorators, we have method decorators within a class. Obviously, args. Class decorators are used to modify or enhance the behavior of a class. Like function decorators, class decorators are applied to the class definition. They work by taking the class as an argument and returning a modified class. Func person pass person.class name fun. So this is weird. Common built-in decorators. Yeah. Python provides several built-in decorators that are commonly used in class definitions. These decorators modify the behavior of methods and attributes in a class, making it easier to manage and use them effectively. The most frequently used built-in decorators are static method, class method, and property. Built-in decorators. Static method decorator is used to define a method that does not operate on an instance of the class. It does not use self. Static method. Static methods are called on the class itself, not on an instance of a class. Add. That's interesting. Explanation is a static method defined in the static method decorator. Oh yeah, I had a question when I saw math.add, and I was like, and I have never instantiated a math operator, I think, and I never created a math object, you know. I don't need a different math objects, and especially I don't need, like, this just was weird. So now I understand that this is a static method, so it doesn't use self. There is no self, there's no object for math operations that has self values that you can manipulate with add. So this is static method. Add. What if you don't use static method here? Like Dachi. Let's just run this now. We got 8. And let's just delete the thing. We still got 8. So what if you don't use the decorator here? So the thing is, if you don't use a static method, the Python expects you to use self argument here, which obviously I didn't use, and there was no problems. It just, yeah, I didn't use it. Uh, Yeah, like why this works. Even though add is defined inside a class, you're not using self and you're calling it via the class like this. So what happens without the Python still creates add as a function that expects two arguments. Since you're calling it through the class and not through an instance, Python doesn't inject self. Also self, because we call this function through a class and not object, the self was not injected. Takes two additional position arguments, three were given. Oh yeah, yeah. So if I instantiated this math thing and then called add on it, the Python would automatically here inject the self argument while calling, not while implementing. While calling, and then implementation only has two arguments, so we would get a we would basically just get a type error, right? Just call it type error. Yes, let's just check this. Yeah, do it like this, do it like this. Math operation, type error, takes two positional arguments, but three were given. So when I instantiated it here, damn, when I instantiated and then called, Python automatically injected self here. Now let's add, oh, sorry. Let's add, god damn. No, I don't want tab. Okay, god damn it. Up. Let's use a static method. Static method. That's good. This should solve it. Res is not defined. What the hell do you mean res is not defined? Oh, sorry. Sorry. I should print this. Fuck off, mate. Yeah, 8 was called. But without that, without that static thing to define a method that doesn't operate on an instance of a class called on a class itself, not an instance. Okay. Actually, if we delete this now, it should just give us a type error. So yeah, basically, static method tells Python to not inject self while calling the method. The class method decorator is used to define a method that operates on the class itself. It uses CLS. Equals amount. So what happens here? So we have a raise amount. We have an init constructor. This is a constructor, right? Which is self, name, salary. We set the name, we set the salary. We have a class method which raises the amount. Oh, okay. CLS, class, and amount. So self is like, class is like, CLS is like a self, but for classes itself. So this amount would be changed for every employees, probably. Set raise amount. Yeah. Can I like a property is a function itself, right? So okay, decorator is just a function, right? So if a decorator is a function, do we have an implementation for those decorators like static methods? And can we read the code of basically what's going on under the hood of the static method function? So the static method decorator is built in. Um, so the real static method in CPython is implemented in C, but conceptually behaves like what the hell? It's implemented in C? God damn. Yeah. So there's a thing called CPython, right? So how do we know if we are using CPython? Oh, that's so cool. That's a CPython. Damn, that's nice. So those are basically, those stuff are implemented built in a Python interpreter. Hmm, that's so cool. That is so cool. It's actually compiled. So that's an easy, I think that's easy, right? Core language features, I more or less covered that. And decorators, I more or less covered that also. Async programming and testing frameworks. Let's go through this. I'll take a break though. I have to go out for a couple of minutes and I'll be back. Yeah, Real Python. Oh, this is a good website, I think. Real Python. This is a really good website, I think. Yeah, this is a great website. Real Python. Damn, he's been senior web engineer with Shutterly. He's been coding 25 years in Python. I have been alive for 23 years. And I have used Python very rarely. Building synchronous web servers. Damn. Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting read. This is a 37-minute read. God damn. Check out this website. Python scope and how to debug common Python errors. What is Python init for? Free-threaded Python Unleashed. And other Python news, exploring Python and protocols in Python. This is gonna be interesting. What? Oh, this is a video?
Flows that perform actions like testing or
That I'm gonna read this book a lot. Start here. Become a Python expert. Free account. What makes Real Python special? Online learning platform that teaches individuals company skills to Python real world. Go broad and deeply. Where to start? Python basics. Why real Python? Python. I really said Python. Like imagine, like Python is such a high level of technology. Like every piece of technology, almost every piece of technology is paid. Like when you buy a car, it's paid. When you buy a car engine, it's paid. When you uh, buy your Netflix membership, it's paid. But Python itself is free, which is a wild thing. Imagine if Python was paid and it costs like $5 million. Everyone would go crazy about Python. They would create, they would teach Python in schools, which they don't do in my school. Everyone would be crazy about Python. But now when you say that, oh, I do Python, I write code in Python, nobody gives a damn. people don't even try hard to learn Python because it's freely available. Yeah, like when you want to learn penetration testing, for example, like the courses are all paid, right? Like there are like a lot of paid software written in Python probably, but the Python itself is free. The programming languages are free, which is a really big privilege if you think about it. You can automate so many things. You can think about learning about the world, taking the data. Like grandma, my grandma loved hockey, and she lived up to the 110 years or something like that. And like she loved hockey, and she would know about who, like which team won which championship, what year. She knew all about it. But if you have a Python, you can do the only way she could have acquired this knowledge if she like really watched hockey for years. But now you can just automate all of these things, which is crazy. Yeah, yeah, I'll take a small break and I'll come. So I'm back with a good news that I could probably be starting as a Python developer. And yes, I was talking about this website, Real Python, which sounds like a really good website for learning things. I guess a book will also do it, but books are a bit boring for learning programming. And I have a hard time following them. And video, learn CPP, fluent CPP, Baldung, Code Geeks, Spring. Baldung. So for Java, we have Baldung, which is also a really good website. Should save that. We have Java Code Geeks. Java 8 features. I think this is Spring, JVM languages, Java, Core Java, Web Dev, Python, PHP, Agile, Soft Dev. Also a really good website. I should save this. And for JetBrains Guide. JetBrains Guide, a collection of bite-sized visual resources organized to help spark your learning. Brains Guide. Oh, this sounds like a great thing. Fluent C++. Jonathan Bucker's blog. Fluent C++, expressive code in C++, usage first, implementation after, principles of software development. Fluent C++. Yeah. Yeah, so I really want to learn Python, Java, and C++, which I don't really think is a big. I mean, it's three languages. If you studied computer science for 5 years and then studied more computer science and then worked in software engineering, you should know basics of three languages. And those are, I think, the best three languages. They are the best, right? Python is the best for its own thing. Java is best for its own thing, and C++ is best in its own category. So so async programming. This is what we set out to do originally. Async features in Python. Understanding asynchronous programming. Asynchronous program is executed one step at a time. Even with conditional branching, loops, and function calls, you can still think about the code in terms of taking one execution step at a time. When each step is complete, the program moves on to the next one. Here are two examples of programs that work this way. Batch processing programs are often created as asynchronous programs. You get some input, process it, and create some output. Steps follow one after the other until the program reaches the desired output. The program only needs to pay attention to the stops and their order. Command line programs are small, quick processes that run in a terminal. The scripts are used to create something, transform one thing into something else, generate a report, or perhaps list out some data. This can be expressed as a series of program steps that are executed sequentially until the program is done. As an asynchronous program behaves differently, it still takes one execution, still takes one execution step at a time. The difference is that the system may not wait for an execution step to be completed before moving to the next one. This means that the program will move on to the future execution steps even though a previous step hasn't yet finished and is still running elsewhere. This also means that the program knows what to do when a previous step does finish running. Why would you want to write a program in this manner? The rest of this article will help you answer the question and give you. So, is asynchronous programming just concurrent programming? So async programming is concurrency, but it's not parallelism. It's not a multi-core programming. It's a lightweight, single-threaded concurrency model. So async is concurrent programming, but with its own limitations. A web server's basic unit of work is more or less the same as batch processing. The server will get some input, process it, and create the output. Written as synchronous program, this would create a working web server. It would also be an absolutely terrible web server. Why? In this case, one unit of work is not the only purpose. The real purpose is to handle hundreds or even thousands of units of work as quickly as possible. This can happen over long periods of time, and several work units may even arrive at once. Can a synchronous web server be made better? Sure, you could optimize the execution steps so that all the work coming is handled as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, there are limitations to this approach. The result could be a web server that doesn't respond fast enough, or even the times get stacked up. There are limitations you might see if you try to optimize the above approach. Network speed of other connected services. In a synchronous program, if an execution step starts a database query, in a asynchronous program, if an execution step starts a database query, then the CPU is essentially idle until the database query is returned. For batch-oriented programs, this isn't a priority most of the time. Processing the result of that I/O operation is the goal. Often this can take longer than the I/O operation itself, and optimization efforts would be focused on the processing work, not the I/O. Asynchronous programming techniques allow your programs to take advantage of relatively slow I/O processes by freeing the CPU to do other work. Programming parents. If you recognize yourself or your parents in the example, that's great. You've got a leg up in synchronous programming. Synchronous parent, polling parent, threading parent, using Python async features in practice, synchronous programming. This first example shows a somewhat contrived way of having a task retrieve work from a queue and root work. A queue in Python is a nice FIFO, first in, first out, synchronous programming, simple cooperative concurrency, cooperative concurrency with blocking calls. HTTP calls, or Google, Twitter, await working queue put, the timer, conclusion has given you the tools you need to start making asynchronous programming techniques a part of your repertoire. Using Python async features gives you programmatic control of when context switches takes place. This means that many of the tougher issues you might see in threaded programming are easier to deal with. Asynchronous programming is a powerful tool, but it isn't useful for every kind of program. If you're writing a program that calculates pi to the millionth decimal place, for instance, asynchronous code won't help you. That kind of program is CPU bound without much I/O. However, if you're trying to implement a server program that performs I/O, then using Python async features could make a huge difference. What async programs are, how asynchronous programs are different, but also powerful and manageable. Why you might want to write a synchronous program, how to use the built-in async, and so on. Alright, for today I'm just kind of done, iteration protocol, iterables work, and their relationship.